Hey, welcome back to another web development video. Today I'm going to be talking about coding boot camps versus CS degrees. It's a really popular question that I see on the internet amongst people that are trying to figure out that next step to learn how to code or get into the industry or wherever it might be. And I want to kind of talk through the pros and cons of each. But first, my background, I did go through a coding boot camp, and I also have a bachelor's degree. Uh, in business, I got it about 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago, from Washington State University. And I also have a transfer degree from community college as well. But I did go through a coding boot camp, and I did get a development job directly from the experience that I gained from that coding boot camp. Now, I know there are probably a few people, but not very many out there that have CS degrees and have also gone through coding boot camps. And if you're one of those people, I would love to hear your thoughts on some of this stuff. But I will give you sort of my thoughts and the pros and cons of each. So I'll start out with coding boot camps. As you know, coding boot camps or CS degrees, some of this kind of is going to depend on your career goals. And you have to remember that a CS degree is probably going to take you a little bit farther, but I'll go through the pros and cons. So coding boot camps, you're going to usually learn like Ruby, Python, JavaScript, GitHub, some APIs, and get a little career coaching out of those. And all of these skills are going to be really highly sought by some companies. And also another positive you're going to get out of a coding boot camp is you're going to get kind of a signal of you have a lot of entrepreneurial drive, or you have a lot of drive in order to make it through one of those, especially if you're doing a career change. The direct pros of a coding boot camp: they're faster, they're cheaper, you get to make real life applications and learn interview algorithms. So the stuff that you're actually going to be asked on in a technical interview. You're going to learn interviewing techniques, and depending on the boot camp, you can get job search support. You're going to get some networking from some like-minded people, and you're going to get to learn tech that's getting used right now. Remember, a coding boot camp can change their curriculum, especially if you're in one that is like 6 months or something like that, or less 3 months. They can change their curriculum multiple times a year. A university takes years to change their curriculum. Now, they're going to have more broader and deeper stuff. I'll go into that here in a minute. But remember, the stuff that you're learning in a coding boot camp, they want their people to be hired. Otherwise, they're not going to continue to exist as a boot camp. So they are trying to teach you the stuff that's going to get you hired right now. And then lastly, return on investment. You're going to make more per how much effort you put in right away. So what I mean by that is you do a boot camp, it's 4 months, and you will likely get a job after that boot camp. Now, not everybody does, but you will likely get a job after that boot camp. Or if you do, you are going to start making probably a little bit less than a CS grad, but it only took you 4 months to do, where them it's going to take them 4 years. Now, the cons of coding boot camps: it's not a real degree, and the pace is absolutely ridiculous. There's no way that you can remember or learn everything that they teach you, and you have a lot more shallow knowledge. You only scratch the surface on a lot of things. You generally don't go beyond the terminal line, like the command line. You don't go past that. There is also a stigma attached to being a bootcamp graduate. A lot of companies and people will look down on that. And as well, you'll probably get paid less than somebody that actually has a CS degree, especially coming into the industry, but potentially over time as well. Right, it's going to be harder to make a VP level, whatever it is, a director of engineering, stuff like that, if you just have a bootcamp degree versus somebody that has CS. CS degrees. So you're going to probably learn Java or C++ and operating system designs and computer science theory and math and algorithms as well. And this is going to be better for career advancements and stuff like that. But it does take longer, and it's also difficult. It's a difficult degree to get. Now, CS degree pros, you're going to get much deeper knowledge, much deeper knowledge across computer science theory and whatnot. You're going to have a well-rounded view, including how and why things are and exist, and you're also going to go well past the beyond the command line. And I can speak to this in the sense of myself being a bootcamp grad. There's a lot of things that I don't know about computer science that I've been trying to study on my own so I could become a better developer. A lot of things like basic CS 101 concepts and whatnot, best practices and things beyond the command line. Now, once you get that CS degree, another pro is you're going to be well beyond the amateur programmer status, right? You are going to know a lot of stuff and be able to build a lot of projects and things like that because you've been doing it for 4 years, right? Remember, if you're a bootcamp grad, if you've just done a little bit of computer science or learning on your own or programming on your own before you graduate that bootcamp, you have 4 months or 5 months or however long that bootcamp took you, plus that time of learning when you're just whatever it is. If you're not very good and you need to boot camp in order to get good, then that's how much experience you have programming. Somebody with a CS degree has 4 years just from getting that degree, just 4 years of actual experience from that. And that's one of the reasons I think that CS degrees are highly valuable in careers and in the market is you already come into that with 4 years plus a lot of theoretical knowledge and things like that. And you'll generally get paid more from having a CS degree. And this includes in the future and right away, immediately. Now, the cons for getting a CS degree. Oh, and one more thing. You also get a lot of great networking too. That's one of the most positive things that you get from doing anything like this. If you're just learning on your own without going to either, that's the biggest thing that you're going to miss. You're going to get no networking at all. None of that. I work with this person on this project, or I met these cool people, and you can keep in touch with them over the years. It leads to opportunities and whatnot. You don't really get a lot of that if you just learn on your own. Okay, so CS degree cons. It's expensive. 100,000 more. It really depends on what you do for the degree, where you go. If you go in-state, out of state, the type of college you go to. If you do something like me, where I transferred from a junior college while I was working, and then went through business program in-state. For me, I'm in Washington, but if you just do all out of state or end up at a very nice college or something like that, it can cost a lot of money. It's difficult. Boot camps are difficult, but CS degrees are also equally as difficult. And remember, CS degrees, that's 4 years, 5 years. If you want to get a master's or something like that, it's even more time. Versus just a few months of insane workload and boot camps. Remember, boot camp, you're going to be doing 50 hours, 60 hours, 70 hours a week. It really depends on if it's online or part-time, or like it's what I did, online part-time, or if you do an in-person one. You'll hear and read a lot of stuff about people that are doing 60, 70 hours a week in-person boot camps, and that's pretty darn accurate. Other CS degree cons, you learn a little bit of outdated tech. You aren't learning what people want you to know right now, and that's because one, they want to teach you foundations and fundamentals and stuff like that, and not whatever XYZ company wants you to build. They want to give you the background for that, and also because they have curriculums that have been developed and curated over time, over 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and it takes a lot in order to change those things. And that also means that you're not going to build as many real world apps per se, stuff that potentially you would want to have in your portfolio. And lastly, CS degree takes a long time. If you are 18, 19, and you're thinking about going to college, even 20, 21, thinking about going to college, you're still pretty young and you have a lot of time to go through it. But if you just can't stand the idea of 4 years before you go out and get an actual computer science job or a full-time computer science job, then that's one thing. Also, if you are like me and you're in your 30s and thinking about changing your career, it's really difficult to think I have to go back and do 4 years of college while I have other real life expenses and things that I need to do. And I just didn't have that amount of time to go do it. So I guess in summary, to think about CS degree programs, right, they're a longer time investment, which means you get a deeper understanding and more practice hours of building stuff. And in contrast, you'll finish a boot camp in just a matter of months, but you're probably going to need to end up doing some self-study and on-the-job learning in order to get up to speed. Now, I can also talk a little bit about employer reviews here. They want hard skills and technical knowledge, but they also want soft skills. And employers, some of them, they want to have you to have some sort of 4-year degree. It might not matter what it is. And some of them want you to have CS degree and some of them don't care. It really depends on the employer. But they do recognize that a CS degree might be preferred when you want somebody to figure out best algorithm or whatever it is, or have a good math background for jobs that require data science. So those might be larger companies or maybe kind of dinosaur-y companies or the FANG companies, really popular, huge companies that really want you to have a lot of knowledge and depth and breadth and be quite a good programmer. Employers that might want to hire bootcamp graduates might want people that have a little bit more of that grit, that have more experience solving problems with teams, and more perseverance than up-to-date, and then had more practical up-to-date knowledge than have just a degree. So they might value somebody that really has that self-start. I changed degrees or changed jobs, and I really, really want to get into programming, and I have a lot of energy around this, versus somebody that just has a CS degree and ho-hum, now I'm going to get a job. Versus that, that person that really wants to be there. Obviously, going through a boot camp generally is that person. If somebody did that, they really want to go get into tech. And that's just kind of some light employer views between the two. And that's the bottom of my list. So pros and cons, there's a lot of different pros and cons. And if you enjoyed my list, or if you have questions about my list, just post in the comments and I'll do my best to get back to you on a timely basis. And otherwise, I'll see you next time.